You ever get that feeling that your phone knows what you want even before you do? Well, it's not magic, and it's not a coincidence. It's design. In this explainer, we're going to peel back the curtain on how our digital world is so carefully engineered to guide our every click, our every choice. We're going to explore this hidden architecture of control, and it all starts with a simple story about a snowy field. So to really get a handle on how our choices are being shaped, we need to start with a story. It's really a tale of two philosophies, two completely different ways of looking at the world, and, more importantly, at you. One is about paving the grass, the other is about building a superhighway. Okay, so picture this, a big university campus, and it's just been covered in a fresh, clean blanket of snow. All the official concrete sidewalks, they're gone, totally hidden. Now, just watch as people start to move around. They're not following the hidden paths, right? Nope. They take the most direct, the most natural routes from A to B. And by the end of the day, their footprints have carved these brand new paths into the snow. And you know what? These have a name. They're called desire paths. The French philosopher Gaston Bachelard had a beautiful name for them, les chemins du désir, the paths of desire. And they're just that, a perfect organic map of what people actually want. For any smart architect, these paths are an absolute gift. They're a signal, clear as day, telling you where to pave next to build a world that actually listens. Now, for a long time, this was kind of the golden rule in software design, too. You'd watch for the clever little workarounds your users invented, their digital desire paths, and then you'd build those features right into the product. You'd listen. But as the writer Cory Doctorow points out, that whole idea has been completely flipped on its head. The goal isn't to pave where you want to go anymore. The goal now is to build a perfect frictionless superhighway and make it so incredibly easy to use that you never even think about stepping off onto the grass. So this brings us to the core of it all. They don't keep us on their superhighway with big walls or fences. Oh no, it's something way more subtle, way more effective. A velvet leash. It's this gentle, psychological pull that you barely even feel. So how do they actually do it? How do they make their path so much more attractive than any path we might make for ourselves? Well, it all comes down to two really powerful psychological tugs on that leash. The first tug is all about frictionless design. The idea is to remove every single little bit of effort, what designers call cognitive load. They make your path so smooth, so intuitive, that any other choice just feels like a ton of work. But the second tug, oh, that's the more powerful one. That's what we could call the magic of maybe, the psychology of the unpredictable reward. Yeah, I know, that's a mouthful, but here's the science behind that magic. It's a principle from the psychologist B.F. Skinner, and it's called a variable ratio schedule of reinforcement. All that really means, in simple terms, is that the best way to create a compulsive habit is to make the reward unpredictable. Skinner figured this out with rats in a box. It's a classic experiment. If a rat presses a lever and gets a food pellet every single time, you know what? It gets bored. But if the food pellet comes out randomly, maybe this time, maybe not, the rat becomes absolutely obsessed. It will just press that lever over and over and over. Now, think about your phone. You pull down to refresh your feed. What are you going to get? A great video? A text from a friend? A boring ad? You don't know. We are the rat. And the infinite scroll, that's the lever. And you've got to understand, none of this is an accident. It's been turned into a literal playbook. A guy named Nir Eyal wrote a huge bestseller called Hooked that lays out this exact 4-step model for building habit-forming products. It starts with a trigger, maybe notification, which causes an action, like scrolling, which leads to that variable reward, the unpredictable content, and finally, you make an investment, like a comment or a share, and that little investment loads the trigger for the next time. It's a perfect, self-perpetuating loop of psychological engineering. Okay, so we're starting to get the how. But what about the so what? I mean, what does it actually mean to live in a world that's been built this way? Well, this is where our story takes a bit of a philosophical turn towards a prophecy of comfortable servitude. Let's be honest, the experience of living this way doesn't feel like oppression. It's not some iron cage. It feels convenient. It feels helpful, even. But what's the real cost of all that comfort? It is absolutely wild, but the French philosopher Alexis de Tocqueville described this exact feeling with chilling accuracy nearly 200 years ago. He wasn't imagining some brutal dictator. No, he foresaw a totally new kind of soft despotism, where a gentle, shepherd-like power would watch over a flock that was perfectly happy and productive. So here's the crucial insight. Tocqueville predicted this power wouldn't be cruel. Its whole goal would be to keep the flock happy by taking care of all their needs, all their pleasures. But he warned that, in doing so, it would spare them all the care of thinking and all the trouble of living. See, it doesn't need to break our will, it just softens it, bends it, and guides it, until our will just doesn't matter anymore. And that just perfectly describes our world today. Tocqueville's prophecy has pretty much come true. But the shepherd isn't the government, is it? It's the algorithm. The perfect Spotify playlist that anticipates our mood. The Amazon recommendation that supplies our needs. There are gentle shepherds, and they're quietly guiding us through this gilded cage. And that leads us to the final, and maybe the most damning part of this whole story. This cage, it wasn't an accident. The architects knew exactly what they were doing. They literally went to school for it. You can't make this up. At Stanford University, a researcher named B.J. Fogg founded an entire academic discipline called Captology. That's short for Computers as Persuasive Technologies. Its explicit purpose, they wrote it down, was to create a formal method for using computers to change what people think and do. So you can literally draw a straight, unmistakable line through history. The ideas start with B.F. Skinner's behaviorism back in the 30s. Then they get picked up by B.J. Fogg's Captology lab at Stanford in the 90s. And guess who is sitting in Fogg's classes? The guys who would go on to found companies like Instagram. These techniques were passed down directly, from the psychology lab straight to the apps on your phone. Look, I know this all can sound like some kind of wild conspiracy theory, but it's not. It's just the intellectual history of our time. The evidence is all right there. Psychological manipulation wasn't a bug, it wasn't some unfortunate side effect, it was the design specification from day one. The architects were taught exactly how to build the cage. Which brings us to one last really unsettling question. This cage, it's frictionless. It's incredibly convenient. It's filled with an endless stream of little pleasurable rewards. It was designed from the ground up to be a place we love. So, if the cage is this comfortable, and that velvet leash feels this good, do we even want to find our own path through the snow anymore?